Welcome to Mr. UFC Vegas Fight Club TV. I am Kyle, your host. Welcome to the podcast. And has Khabib Nurmagomedov actually lost a fight already within the UFC? We will talk about that, but before we do not forget to subscribe to this channel, head kick that bell icon, hit the like button, just so we know what you guys are into here in the channel, and I will give more of that content. We're talking about UFC and gambling content in general. Get involved, subscribe to the channel. You're going to love it. So, today we're going to talk about is something that Tony Ferguson continues to bring up. He continues to bring up the fact that Khabib has already lost within the UFC. So I rewatched a fight that he's referring to. And if you guys did not listen to the conference call that was the other day between Khabib and, really all four of the UFC 223, was very entertaining. I thought was hilarious, filled with a bunch of one-liners. I mean, even if you Google it right now, I mean, people have just been posting the one-liners. There is so many funny one-liners from both sides. You got Tony Ferguson, who's just a little bit of a wacko, a little bit of a weird dude, an excellent martial artist, but a weird dude. And then you got Khabib with his accent and the things that he's saying back. It was very entertaining and funny, and just really does build this fight even more about how much these two really don't like each other. It really even overshadowed Rose and Joanna, and how much is going on with that fight as well too, which really makes this card such a massive card coming up on April 7th. So the fight that Tony Ferguson is referring to is Gleison Tibau versus Khabib Nurmagomedov at UFC 148, which Khabib at the time was 23 years old. It was his second fight in the UFC. He looked like a little scrawny guy, and going up against Gleison Tibau. And Gleison Tibau is a vet, long-time fighter within the UFC. He was fairly good, and in this fight right away, because I want to go back, I just was like, I got to watch this fight over. I got to rewatch. I knew what happened. Obviously, we know Khabib wins, but I really wanted to dive into it and kind of look through it through Ferguson's eyes and say, like, what is he seeing? So I went back. I will give you a quick rundown of the 3 rounds. Not going to dive totally into it, but just to give a quick rundown. Now, first, the thing with this fight is the size difference between the two. And that's something that Joe Rogan even discusses on the telecast when he's announcing, is just how much bigger Tibau was to Khabib. I mean, Joe Rogan said he thinks about 10 pounds. I think easily more than that. Easily more than that. I would say it's 15 to maybe more, to be honest with you. Again, go back, look, if you guys want to check it out. The guy looks like a monster there. He looks like he's, 2 divisions above Khabib. Really, it was really amazing how big he looks. So they go into the fight. First round, Khabib goes into this fight, and it's what we know Khabib likes to do. He likes to go in, he likes to get the pressure, he likes to try to get you up against the cage, go for the takedowns. That's his game. In this fight, that's basically what he did in that first round. The first round, Khabib gets a lot of pressure on him, dictated that first round. Not too much damage that he was able to put on Tibau, but he was able to at least impose enough of the control of that round to get the round. There was basically no opportunity where Khabib could get him to the ground. So he relentless with the takedowns, but Tibau did a great job by fending those off throughout the fight. He really was able to just get a nice stop on that. And I really believe, again, the strength and size difference is why this happened. Very, very big. I mean, Khabib was in great positions for, in a single, was able to try to get him down, and this guy was just easily able to push him off, which is something we're not totally used to seeing the way that Khabib is. So now you go to the second round, and I would give that first round to Khabib, just by control, just by more of what he was doing. He's more active. And there was actually a very questionable by Mario Yamasaki, very questionable stop or breakage in that first round. We all know that Mario was a little shady when it comes to some of those things. So now you go to the second round, and pretty much the same thing, but I would say a lot less activity from both fighters. Would give Tibau more. He was landing a couple more shots, I would say, on Khabib. And again, Khabib continues with the relentless takedown opportunities. He keeps putting himself out there. And the ending stat that I thought was good, which I will go through the third round real quickly as well, but at the end, Khabib was 0 for 11 on takedown opportunities, which is even that is mind-blowing for a guy like Tebow to be able to stop all of Khabib's takedowns, which is just impressive for him to be able to do that. But in that second round, of course, Khabib is trying to put the pressure on. Not as much pressure as he did in that first round, but I think that he basically not taking the round off, but trying to look for better spots to try to take him down, going for the single, going for the double. And on reverse side of that is Tebow was actually able to take down Khabib. Very quickly, Khabib was able to kind of shuffle around and bounce back up, but he was able to take him down in that second round. I would probably give that second round to Gleison Tebow. I would probably give him that second round just on activity, the same thing. This whole fight was not really action-packed, which makes it definitely difficult for a judge's perspective to give a clear-out winner. There was not any real highlight opportunities. There was not any real clean shots. Both guys really came out of that fairly clean. I mean, I think Gleison had a cut over his eye, but besides for that, there was really not that much activity in this fight. So it's not one of these spectacular where there's a back and forth where you could kind of at least judge it a little bit better. But in my perspective, going into that third round, it was 1-1 going in. And again, that was where Khabib really laid on the pressure, tried to get him up against the cage, did not land as many shots as I believe he should, and where now, I mean, this is 2012. Khabib now gets you against the cage, and that's already a scary place to be. So he has really evolved, and you give him 5 years, basically 5 years from this fight to then, he has just really been impressive since then. So, again, that was his second fight. He's had 7 more since this fight. So, you can't really, he was 23, so obviously there's going to be changes in his game moving forward. But again, he was able to at least put pressure on, but Tebow was able to take down Khabib, again quickly, but got him down, and there was about a second there where Tebow shuffled to Khabib's back, and somehow Khabib gets out of that, which would have definitely given him the loss if somehow if Gleison could just kind of wrap him up and kind of keep him to the ground. But Khabib gets up, they kind of start exchanging a little bit again. Khabib lands a couple decent shots in there, and that was really the fight. I mean, that was really the breakdown of the fight. Nothing that highlight. There was nothing really that huge that happened. Again, Khabib was 0 for 11 in takedown opportunities, and Tebow was, I believe he was about 2 for 3, or he got about 2 takedowns in that fight. Didn't really have much position once he had gotten him down, but he at least got him down. So going to the judges, in the end of that third round, you hear even Joe Rogan saying, well, Khabib, great, he's going to be great, he's young, he's lost this fight. I mean, they were basically, the announcers are going back and we're talking, saying he's lost. I mean, they're already saying there isn't a chance that he's won this fight. And I thought that was actually interesting to hear the announcers saying that. They go to the decision, and it was a sweeping decision for Khabib, and it was actually 30-27 by all 3 judges. That I don't believe. I definitely don't believe he won every round. I would give it a very, 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 very razor-thin decision victory to Khabib, but I would not argue out if somebody else had said, hey, I think Tebow won 2-1. I mean, it was just that close. I don't know how all 3 judges gave 3 rounds for Khabib, but there you have it on that. You know what I mean? I think that in general, when you're looking at this fight, I know that it doesn't mean much. It's a fight that was from 2012, but it's something that you have to look at in the fact of his reaction after each one of those, after that fight, and the fact that Tony Ferguson also talks about when Tony Ferguson talks about when Khabib lost a Sambo match. And he cried. I actually saw that video as well. He cries. He kind of kneels to the ground. He's got his head, tucked down. And his opponent, actually, who won, comes over and literally picks him up and consoles him, which is great to see in combat sports, guys doing that. But it picked him up and he cried. And then in this fight too, which was very, very, very close, he cries again. So Ferguson is trying to play with a little bit with Khabib's emotions here, saying, listen, when you lose or you're close to losing, you just start bawling, crying. And a question that was asked on the conference call is to Khabib was, do you feel pressure that you're 25-0, that you want to keep that O? Is there pressure there? And Khabib was saying no. He was saying no, there wasn't. There's not pressure. You go in the cage, you fight, and that kind of thing. And he went that way with it. Probably the better answer, of course. And what else is he going to say? I mean, he's not going to say, there's tons of pressure and this kind of. He's not going to get into that. He's not going to even be worrying about that. He wants to win the title. He wants to, whether it's the interim, the real title, he wants a title. So I definitely think that's a storyline involved in this, where Khabib definitely has pressure keeping that O on his record. But I think it's very interesting the fact that even Reebok just signed him to a very large deal, and they did not sign Tony Ferguson to a deal. Khabib gets the deal, and Khabib actually was making fun of Tony Ferguson, saying that he could get a shoe made that says interim champion for Tony Ferguson. Thought that was one of those zingers that Khabib had. But, it's just interesting to see where their emotions are. And that's why I always like to place my bets a little bit closer to fight week, a little bit more into fight week, if I can, and if the odds are there. And already the odds are shifting all over the place. We're getting closer and closer to fight night, and that kind of stuff is going to be happening, where money is going to start to come in a little bit heavier on these two main fights. So let me know what you guys think. Just wanted to do a quick breakdown of the fight that they just keep referring to over the last month or so. Tony Ferguson keeps bringing it up. Khabib needs to defend himself on it. So if you guys do have the UFC app, definitely take a look at that fight at UFC 148, and let me know what you guys think. But again, if you have not subscribe, like this video, head kick the bell icon, get involved to Fight Club TV, and this is Mr. UFC Vegas, Fight Club TV.